Chapter 2252. Teacher Yi's body stiffened slightly. This? Lord Guiyu, it's not that Yanyu didn't realize her mistake, but she cared too much about Xianxia. I have eyes. I'm not a fool either. Old man Guiyu sneered. Old E, don't say that I didn't give you face. It's your student who didn't care about face. I know. Teacher E was also very anxious, but Yanyu's heart was clouded by hatred at this time. The ghost doctor, who had been silent and emitting an icy aura, glanced at Yanyu with a sinister gaze, before shifting his gaze away. He moved his lips, his voice cold and dignified. Xianxia. This student called Yanyu is targeting little Luo because of Xianxia, that traitor of the Nirvana realm? Perhaps the ghost doctor's voice was too cold. Perhaps Xianxia's name had stimulated Yanyu. Yanyu's crazed and ferocious face suddenly froze for a moment. She widened her eyes and looked at the ghost doctor. You're spouting nonsense. Yanyu. Teacher E threw a slap across the air. Yanyu felt a burning pain on her cheeks. Her entire body was thrown back a few steps by the impact of the xianxia. Her cheeks were swollen and blood dripped from the corner of her mouth. From this, it could be seen how much strength was used in that slap. Yanyu's hands trembled as she touched her cheeks. Her eyes were filled with disbelief as she fixed her gaze on Teacher E. Teacher E clenched the hand he used to slap her, gritting his teeth in warning. However, Yanyu could not see the guilt and pain in Teacher Yi's eyes. In her eyes, Yanyu only felt that Teacher E had slapped himself because of Yiqing Luo. Everything was that slut Yiqing Luo's fault. Yiqing Luo, that vixen, had seduced Teacher E, who had always doted on her. Teacher E was stunned by Yanyu's hateful gaze. He slapped her. It was to stop her from being rude to the ghost doctor. If he allowed her to insult the ghost doctor, what awaited her wasn't just a simple slap on the face. However, Yanyu didn't understand. Teacher Yi's heart sank. He thought that his student, who he thought to be exceptionally intelligent, was actually so stupid. It was really their teacher's failure. As a result, the students didn't even understand the simple principles of being human? What did the ghost doctor just say? Nirvana realm's traitor? Xianxia? What's going on? Xianxia is a traitor of the Nirvana realm? I think I've heard something incredible. What's going on? Why did Yanyu say that Xianxia was killed by Yiqing Luo? But the ghost doctor said that Xianxia is a traitor of the Nirvana realm? The attention of the students of the class of gods was drawn to the ghost doctor's words. As for Xianxia, the students of the class of gods didn't have any special feelings for her. The only feeling he had was that he had approached Xianxia in order to build a relationship with Yanyu. Because Xianxia was not considered a top student in the class of gods. In every test of the class of gods, he was always ranked at the bottom. Moreover, Xianxia liked to run around the lower classes. Now that they heard the news of Xianxia's death, they didn't have any special feelings. The only feeling they had was shock. The ghost doctor's voice was cold. Yes, Xianxia colluded with the dark forces and attempted to kill all the elite students of the various academies in the Nirvana realm. Dark forces. Chapter 2253. Although they weren't very interested in anything outside of the class of gods. However, he more or less knew about the news that the Western continent had almost been destroyed some time ago. The West continent had been annexed by the Dark Forces and the Three Springs sect in an attempt to invade the West continent. Xianxia actually colluded with the Dark Forces? Could it be that Xianxia also wanted to invade the Western continent? Although they were going to ascend to the upper realm in the future. However, they were the only ones who ascended to the immortal realm. Nirvana realm. West continent was still their home. Their loved ones were here. You. Yanyu looked at the ghost doctor in horror. As though he had not expected that the ghost doctor, who had always hated trouble, would actually speak up for Yiqing Luo, clarifying that she had not caused Xianxia's death. Yanyu knew that the students of the class of gods didn't know much about the outside world. So he was thinking that while Yiqing Luo was still in the class of gods, he would slowly make everyone think that it was Yiqing Luo who was jealous of Xianxia and caused his death. This way she would be able to avenge Xianxia openly. He did not expect that the ghost doctor would reveal the cause of Xianxia's death. Who was the ghost doctor? Even the headmaster, whom they respected him so much. His words were extremely authoritative. Who wouldn't believe it? Because of Xianxia, she killed a total of 52 students from the Wind Vein Academy. The ghost doctor enunciated each and every word extremely clearly. Because of Xianxia, all the students of the academy almost died in the blaze nest. After that, the Luo girl captured xianxian and handed him over to the headquarters for punishment. The faces of the students of the class of gods paled. The ghost doctor's cold gaze swept towards Yanyu. Student Yanyu, do you think that last Luo was wrong to hand over xianxian, that traitor, that murderer, to the general hospital? Yanyu's body trembled. The students of the class of gods were speechless. If it was them, they would also hand xianxian over to the headquarters. It wasn't like they hadn't killed anyone before. But 52 lives were taken, and they were the lives of students from other academies. Xianxian was actually so ruthless. It was only natural for the General Institute to execute Xianxian. This indeed couldn't be blamed on Yiqing Luo. You are. Yanyu still wanted to struggle. The ghost doctor had already interrupted Yanyu's words with a cold sneer. If you don't believe me, you can go back to your clan and ask your relatives. I'm sure they'll tell you in more detail. Yanyu's body slumped to the ground. Xianxian clearly deserved to die. As students of the class of gods, how dare you collude with other factions to kill students from other schools? Isn't this just bringing shame to our class? Yanyu, what face do you have to blame Xianxian's death on Yiqing Luo? 52 lives. He even wanted to kill all the university students from all the schools. Even if she dies, she won't be able to repay those 52 lives. The students of the class of gods began to berate Yanyu. Even Luo did not have the face to speak for Yanyu. It could be said that ever since the ghost doctor and Guiyu appeared, Yanyu no longer had the slightest advantage. On the training ground, the momentum was already one-sided. Teacher Yi bore with the pain as he shut his eyes. Yanyu has disobeyed his superiors and has slandered the new devil class several times. Deduct 2 months of resources and lock him up in the confinement room for a month, then send him to high profound class 2. The students of the class of gods were all stunned. The berating voices stopped abruptly. Chapter 2254. This punishment. Wasn't it a little too harsh? One must know that the students who were chased out of class of gods, no matter how outstanding their innate talents were, once they went to the lower class they would be ridiculed by all the students. But on second thoughts, Yanyu couldn't figure out the situation. For Xianxian he found trouble with Yiqing Luo. If this matter was spread out, it would only make people link Xianxian and the class of gods together. By then, the divine image which the class of gods had painstakingly built up would be destroyed in one day. They must not let Yanyu affect the reputation of their class of gods. Immediately, those shocked students restrained their expressions and no one spoke up to plead for Yanyu. Luo's expression froze in the crowd. If Yanyu left class of gods, what would happen to her? She had always been Yanyu's follower. She had suffered so much injustice. How could she just watch as Yanyu left? Teacher Yen. Luo bit her lower lip, trying to plead for Yanyu. But she heard old man Guiyu's rough voice from the side. Just let her go to high profound class 2? What kind of punishment is this? Old E, do you really think I'm easy to fool just because I haven't been in charge for so many years? Teacher E hurriedly explained, Master Guiyu, I'm not. You're not? Yanyu kept saying that she wanted to seek revenge for that traitor Xianxian. I have the right to suspect that Yanyu had long known that Xianxian was colluding with the dark forces? Otherwise, why did she feel that Xianxian colluded with the dark forces? Was a very normal thing? Old man Guiyu rudely interrupted Teacher Yi's words. Following that, he stared fiercely at Yanyu. Furthermore, I feel that this Yanyu is also part of the dark forces. Old man Guiyu's voice was very loud and rough. The moment he roared, the entire sky above the training ground reverberated with old man Guiyu's voice. The students of class of gods were first stunned by old man Guiyu's domineering manner. Following that, they looked at Yanyu in horror. They all took a step back in unison, afraid that Yanyu's matter would implicate them. How would Luo dare to continue pleading for Yanyu? If she continued to plead, she might be labeled as an accomplice of the dark forces. Yanyu was also frightened out of his wits by old man Guiyu's words. He immediately hugged his head and shook his head while crying, I'm not from the underground forces. I don't know. I didn't. Teacher Yi also felt a chill down his spine. Master Guiyu, this can't be. Yanyu rarely leaves the class of God. How? It doesn't matter if it's possible or not. I think we should arrest Yanyu first and send him to the headquarters for investigation. Old man Guiyu said impatiently. Send him to the general hospital for investigation. Not only would he be kicked out of the class of gods, he would be severely punished. Once he was sent to the headquarters, he would be investigated to see if he was related to the underworld forces. Yanyu's reputation wasn't the only thing affected. and House Yan's reputation. In the end, they found out that Yanyu had nothing to do with the underground forces. However, this black mark would follow Yanyu and House Yan for the rest of their lives. Old Man Guiyu was obviously going to destroy Yanyu. The students of the class of gods couldn't help but secretly sigh in relief. He could offend anyone but not Yiqing Luo. Fortunately, they didn't target Yiqing Luo because they didn't want to deal with the lower class. Otherwise, they would be the unlucky ones now. Chapter 2255. Teacher Yi's body stiffened. He forced a smile and said, "Lord Guiyu is right, I have no objections." Yanyu looked at Teacher Yi in disbelief. He had actually really given up on her? He was actually not pleading for her anymore? Sending her to the general hospital was the same as destroying her life. Since there are no objections, then it's decided. Old Man Guiyu waved his hand and a hemp rope flew out from his sleeve. The hemp rope coiled around Yenyu's body like a snake. Yanyu was tightly bound by the hemp rope. Yanyu cried out in pain. His limbs were bound by the hemp rope, and he fell to the ground uncontrollably. Her face contorted in disgust. There was also an extremely pungent smell coming from the hemp rope. "Master Guiyu, where did you get the rope? You even brought along a hemp rope?" Yiqing Luo looked at Yenyu's expression and knew how strong the smell of that hemp rope was. She purposely asked Old Man Guiyu. Old Man Guiyu did not think much of it. "I came in a hurry and could only pull a rope from the horse dung to rush over. Whoever bullied you, I will use the horse dung rope to whip him to death." Yiqing Luo burst out laughing. No wonder he was Guiyu. Take hemp rope out of horse dung. He could even think of such a method. The faces of the students from the class of gods darkened when they heard that it was hemp rope and horse dung. Another female student clutched her chest and ran to the side to vomit. Yenyu's expression turned even uglier. She kept retching and her body kept struggling, trying to break free from this disgusting hemp rope. But how could she easily untie the hemp rope tied by Old Man Guiyu? "Sirs, I will personally escort student Yenyu to the dean, and the dean will send someone to escort student Yenyu to the headquarters." Teacher Xinqing, who had been silent all this while, spoke up. At this moment he no longer had his usual lazy expression on his face. Xinqing slowly walked to Yenyu's side. Today the students carried weights for 50 kilometers. They must be tired. Go back and rest. The students of the class of gods subconsciously looked at the ghost doctor and Guiyu. Seeing that none of them spoke. Only then did he say tentatively, "Then, we'll go back first." Xinqing nodded. The ghost doctor and Old Man Guiyu still did not speak. Only then did the students carefully prepare to leave. At this moment, a clear and melodious voice came from the entrance of the training ground. "What's going on? How could a physical training cause such a big commotion?" The students of the class of gods bowed respectfully. "Teacher Bai. And a headmaster?" Yiqing Luo looked towards the direction of the voice. He saw a charming beauty walking over gracefully. The headmaster's robes on the woman had been modified to accentuate her figure. The places that should be protruding were protruding, the places that should be thin were thin, and the places that should be perky were perky. "Bai Mei, why are you here?" Xinqing frowned slightly. She had finally found a chance to let the students leave first. Why did Bai Mei come at this time? Bai Mei raised an eyebrow. "Can't I come?" She walked over and saw the ghost doctor and Old Man Guiyu. She was surprised. "Old Man Guiyu, ghost doctor? Yo, what kind of wind blew you two here? Why didn't you tell me in advance that you were coming? Are you trying to exclude me?" The students of the class of gods were dumbfounded. Why did it seem like Teacher Bai and these two sirs had a close relationship? Yenyu? Bai Mei noticed the tied-up Yenyu who was sprawled on the ground. Chapter 2256. When Bai Mei heard this, she frowned and looked at Xinqing. "What's going on?" Xinqing shook her head. Xianxia's death has agitated her. I'll bring her to the headmasters to calm down first. Xianxian? Bai Mei's frown deepened. She pondered for a long time before she remembered. Are you talking about the girl who was executed by the general hospital? Didn't she die a long time ago? How did she provoke Yenyu now? Xinqing lifted her eyelids and frowned at her, signaling her to shut up and stop talking. However, Old Man Guiyu could not bear to see that there was still someone who would save Yenyu. He raised his voice and sneered, "This student is certain that Xianxian's death was caused by my Luo lass, and he is determined to find trouble with my Luo lass." Bai Mei seemed to have heard some big news. A shocked expression appeared on her beautiful face as she said, "You're Luo-er? Old Man Guiyu, don't tell me, are you in heat?" The whole place was silent. Old Man Guiyu's face turned the color of pig liver. "Bai Mei, What nonsense are you spouting? Teacher Yi stepped forward and grabbed Bai Mei's wrist. Bai Mei looked puzzled. Did I guess wrong? It was old man Guiyu himself who said something about his family. Teacher Yi tightened his grip on Bai Mei's wrist. Bai Mei fell silent. Old man Guiyu's face was gloomy. To be able to make the hot-tempered and straightforward old man Guiyu so depressed. Obviously he was furious. Yi Qing Luo stood by Ghost Doctor's side as her pink lips pulled into an arc, revealing a sliver of ridicule. Her long and narrow eyes stared unblinkingly at Bai Mei's innocent face. She couldn't hold it in and laughed out loud. Did this elder Bai Mei really not know anything about this? Or was he pretending not to know? Did he say those words intentionally, or was it just a casual remark, a deliberate joke? Yi Qing Luo was leaning towards the former. After all, she was the teacher of the class of gods. Regarding what happened in the class of gods, how could she not know? Others might believe it, but she didn't. Under the silent situation, Yi Qing Luo's laughter was especially abrupt. Almost everyone's vision shifted onto Yi Qing Luo. Bai Mei's gaze fell onto Yi Qing Luo's face. This student, what are you laughing at? Nothing much, I just admire Master Bai's imagination. Yi Qing Luo smiled in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. Bai Mei didn't seem to understand Yi Qing Luo's words. Yi Qing Luo smiled lightly. Master Bai, just based on the two words my home, you can imagine that wandering ghost teacher has a lover, don't you have a big imagination? Bai Mei's expression froze. Yi Qing Luo gave an extremely gentle smile as her voice also softened a little. Teacher Bai, it's fine if you say these words in front of your own people. But as a teacher, it's not appropriate for you to say these words in front of so many teenage boys and girls. Her voice was gentle, her tone was gentle, and even her expression was gentle. However, it was obvious from her words that she was accusing Bai Mei of not being a qualified teacher. Bai Mei's face sunk. But Yi Qing Luo didn't seem to notice it. Master Guiyu is my brother's master. A master for a day, a father for life. Master Guiyu is naturally my family member. So in Master Guiyu's words, I am also his family member and I am also his family member. Does Master Bai find this sentence ambiguous? Bai Mei's face was completely overcast. But old man Guiyu was so happy that he almost jumped 3 feet in joy. His Luo girl said he was family. His Luo girl said she was his family member. His Luo girl said she was his family member. Chapter 2257. Old man Guiyu was happy. But the ghost doctor refused to comply. He coldly glanced at old man Guiyu and sneered, yes, a teacher for a day, a father for life. You are only the teacher of the little girl's brother. In terms of seniority, you are 1 level lower than me. I look down on you? Didn't you hear what little Luo said? I'm her family. Old man Guiyu was pissed. The ghost doctor laughed coldly again, but I'm her Shifu, so I'm 1 level higher than you. Old man Guiyu glared at him. Speechless, old man Guiyu hugged Yi Qing Luo's arm. Luo lass, you tell him I am more important than him. Ghost doctor's brows creased when he saw that, but he went forward and held Yi Qing Luo's wrist. The ghost doctor didn't say anything. But looking at his stance, it was obvious that he wanted to compete with old man Guiyu. Yi Qing Luo. What kind of timing was this, and these two could still quarrel? The surrounding students? Did they see wrongly? Why were the two adults so childish? Bai Mei, who had a gloomy expression on her face, was completely ignored. Staring at the young girl sandwiched between Guiyu and Ghost Doctor, Bai Mei's expression became extremely complicated. Yanyu, who was at the side, saw it clearly. Yanyu secretly ridiculed Yi Qing Luo in his heart, to actually go against Master Bai Mei. Offending Master Bai Mei, even if Yi Qing Luo had Guiyu and Gui to treat her, Master Bai Mei would absolutely not show any mercy. As if noticing Yanyu's gaze, Bai Mei suddenly turned to look at her. Coincidentally, his eyes met Yanyu's. Okay, I said something wrong. I didn't pay attention to propriety. You two don't need to argue. It's very difficult for the little girl to be caught in the middle. Bai Mei adjusted the expression on her face and smiled to smooth things over. Old man Guiyu saw Yi Qing Luo's lifeless look and quickly let go of her hand. The ghost doctor also let go. Yi Qing Luo hugged her arms as she looked at the both of them. Master Ghost Doctor, Master Guiyu? Both of you are equally important in my heart, so can you not fight for it? If you continue to fight, you will only be able to split me into 2. They could not help but laugh. The scene became lively. Xinqing took the opportunity to say, then I'll bring him to the dean first. Just as Xinqing was about to lift Yanyu up, Bai Mei suddenly said, wait. Xinqing paused. Even though Yan Yu caused trouble for this student because of xianxia, he didn't have to go so far as to send him to the principal. If the other classes found out, wouldn't they think that something big had happened in our class? Xinqing looked troubled. It's a long story. We can talk about it later. Don't disturb the student's rest. As he spoke, he picked up Yan Yu and prepared to leave. Yan Yu immediately wailed again, I know I was wrong, I won't dare to do it again. Yiqing Luo, I apologize to you, please don't chase me out of the class of gods. Master Bai, save me? Save me. Bai Mei looked at the struggling Yan Yu and felt a little pity for him. Following that, he turned to look at Yiqing Luo, this? Student Yiqing Luo, today is also your first day in the class of gods and we will have to spend another month together. Harmony is the most important thing, why must you bully others too much? Although Bai Mei's words sounded like she was pleading for Yan Yu, but no matter how one listened, it sounded like she was reprimanding Yiqing Luo for taking advantage of her power to bully others. Bai Mei. The three masters immediately stopped Bai Mei. Chapter 2258. Bai Mei raised her chin slightly, almost as if she was giving orders. Student Yiqing Luo, although you have old man Guiyu and Ghost Doctor to back you up, but Master has to give you a piece of advice, always leave a way out so that we can meet again in the future. No matter what you do, don't be too childish and go too far. As Yiqing Luo listened on, she couldn't help but laugh. Women were really petty. Was Bai Mei taking revenge on him for mocking her for not being a qualified teacher? Yiqing Luo's laughter made Bai Mei's expression congealed. Yiqing Luo held down old man Guiyu who was about to go berserk as she smiled at Bai Mei. Master Bai's imagination is indeed strong. From the start till the end, Master Ghost Doctor and Teacher Guiyu were using logic to convince others, but in Master Bai's mouth, it became a threat instead? She snickered. Without waiting for Bai Mei to retort, she continued, Teacher Bai is right. In the coming month I still have to interact with the students of the class of God, so I need to remove all obstacles that stand between me and the class of God. Bai Mei's expression turned cold. Yiqing Luo, are you trying to go against your superior? Then what Master Bai means is that you can use your identity as a master to insult me as you wish. Yiqing Luo laughed lightly, neither servile nor overbearing. What a glib tongue. Bai Mei gritted her teeth, looking displeased. Yiqing Luo sneered, I'm just arguing for what's right. Enough, Bai Mei. Xinqing furrowed his brows. The matter had already passed, so why did Bai Mei want to stir up the flames of war again? Xinqing, don't try to persuade me. Bai Mei strode forward and arrived in front of Xinqing. She stretched out her hand and snatched Yan Yu, who was covered in the stench of horse dung. She lowered her head to look at Yan Yu, whose face was covered in tears, and said word by word, Today I will protect Yan Yu. Thank you, Master Bai. Thank you, Master Bai. Yan Yu was overjoyed. Bai Mei raised her head and glanced sideways at Yiqing Luo. Student Yiqing Luo, this is the class of gods. I hope that no matter what happens, everything will be settled in the class of gods. Bai Mei. Fatty Teacher and Teacher E growled in unison. Bai Mei's lips curled into a gorgeous smile as she glanced in the direction of Ghost Doctor and Old Man Yu. Both of you can rest assured, I will not let your girls suffer any grievances. After a pause, her smile became even more radiant. There was also a hint of arrogance. I've specially hired a helper to help me investigate this misunderstanding. Helper? The fat teacher's white eyebrows twitched. Did you also invite that person? Bai Mei raised her lips proudly, and her eyes were full of charm. If I ask, he will naturally help. The fat master's fat body trembled. Bai Mei, why did you? Of course, it's to let some students know that there is always someone better than you. Don't always think about bullying others. Bai Mei sneered and interrupted the fat teacher. Her expression suddenly changed, and her incomparably beautiful face instantly became extremely flirtatious. Every smile and frown was a seductive gesture. What a coincidence, that person is already here. Bai Mei's voice was soft and seductive. Then let's take this opportunity to let that person make a judgment on this matter. The expressions of the three masters froze. They saw Bai Mei was already jogging towards the entrance of the training ground. They immediately knelt down in that direction. This action made the students in the class of God stunned. Very quickly they followed their own masters and knelt down. In the entire training ground, only the devil class, Old Man Yu and Ghost Doctor were still standing. At the training ground, a tall man slowly walked into the training ground. He walked against the light, and his face was hidden in the shadows, which couldn't be seen clearly. Chapter 2259. Gradually the man came closer. His long robe fluttered in the night wind, like rolling clouds. The moonlight poured down as if it was plated with silver light. His black hair, which was not tied up, fluttered along with the man's footsteps. The glow of the luminous pearl shrouded that breathtakingly handsome face. A pair of peach blossom eyes that shone brighter than luminous pearls, as deep as the sea. The training ground fell into a dead silence. Everyone's eyes widened as they watched the approaching man. In a split second, even their breathing became extremely cautious. Dmo Xian, Fat Teacher, was the first to regain his senses and immediately bowed to the man. Everyone else snapped back to reality and bowed to the man in unison. Greetings, Dmo Xian. The man stopped in front of them, expressionless. His deep black peach blossom eyes coldly swept across the group of people kneeling on the ground. Although he did not speak. However, the powerful aura emanating from his body was enough to make one's heart tremble. Everyone broke out in cold sweat. The three teachers knew that the Dmo Xian had come to the class of gods in recent days. But they thought that the Dmo Xian had not appeared. It was Bai Mei who greeted the Dmo Xian and that one, but they never expected that Bai Mei would actually invite the Dmo Xian over. If the Dmo Xian stood on Bai Mei's side and protected Yan Yu for her, even Ghost Doctor and Old Ghost Yu would have to give way. The three headmasters felt like dying. It was just a simple special training. How did it turn into such a situation? One by one, it was a rare sight. Appearing here as if it was free. When the students of the class of gods saw Dmo Xian in person, all their fatigue, irritation and negative emotions disappeared without a trace. In their eyes, in their hearts, there was only Dmo Xian. He was the legend of Nirvana realm. The palace lord of the imperial palace, the Dmo Xian. Bai Mei took in everyone's expressions. Her coquettish face was filled with pride. She raised her eyebrows and walked towards Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian, I'm sorry. Before the devil class came, the atmosphere in the class of gods had always been very good. She explained to Dmo Xian. There was only one meaning in his words. Today's farce was all caused by the devil class. Dmo Xian's brows creased slightly as his deep eyes swept past the direction of the devil class. Finally, it landed on, between the ghost doctor and old man Guiyu, on the beautiful girl dressed in red. No one knew if it was an illusion. Why was it so strange? It seemed that the coldness on his majesty was gradually weakening. Bai Mei also noticed Dmo Xian's gaze. Her heart tightened. A woman's intuition had always been terrifyingly accurate. She bit her lips and leaned her body closer to Dmo Xian. Overlord, may Mayor be so bold as to hope that Overlord can uphold justice for Mayor and return peace to class of gods. Bai Mei's actions could be said to be extremely explicit. The expressions of the three teachers were immediately awkward, and their faces were stiff. However, just as Bai Mei was about to approach him, Dmo Xian had already turned sideways, avoiding Bai Mei's embrace. He glanced at Bai Mei indifferently, his thin lips moved slightly, and his voice was clear like a bone-piercing cold wind. Teacher Bai Mei, please conduct yourself with dignity. Bai Mei's face stiffened. Chapter 2260. Bai Mei's face darkened as she stared angrily. Class of God students obediently knelt on the ground as they stared at Dmo Xian, their eyes filled with respect. It wasn't them. Bai Mei's face darkened. That pair of flirtatious expression instantly turned sinister, filled with hostility. Her gaze fell on the 10 people standing upright not too far away. Those 10 people, ever since the appearance of the Overlord, they had been standing at the same spot, not moving an inch. Their attention wasn't on the Overlord. Instead they were staring at her. And there were 2 female students pointing at her, grinning from ear to ear. Obviously those who laughed out loud were the students of Devil class. Who allowed you to laugh? You even dare to make fun of Master? Don't you know how to respect your teacher? Bai Mei clenched her fists as she rebuked sternly. Yan Xiaoyi and Dan Bai Shi looked at each other, laughing even louder. The other students of Devil class looked at the 2 students and smiled helplessly, without any intention to stop them. Bai Mei was so angry that her whole body was trembling. You students without any morals. I'm going to bring you to the director's office. I want the director to give me an explanation. Yan Xiaoyi and Dan Bai Shi not only had no fear. On the contrary, they laughed even more wildly. Even the other students couldn't help but laugh. Good. Good all of you. Students of the Devil class, all of you want to rebel, right? Bai Mei's tender and beautiful face was somewhat sinister. The embarrassment of being rejected by Dmo Xian was vented on the Devil class. Bai Mei's feet moved as fast as lightning, nearing the devil class students. Her 5 fingers were like eagle claws, mercilessly pinching Yan Xiaoyi's shoulder. Go. I'm going to bring you to the director's office. You dare to touch her. Xiao Jin's expression congealed as he bellowed in rage. Just as Bai Mei's 5 fingers were about to lock onto Yan Xiaoyi, Xiao Jin suddenly embraced Yan Xiaoyi and pulled her into his embrace. He immediately raised his palm and struck towards Bai Mei's direction. Bai Mei didn't expect the students to retaliate, so she didn't pay attention. Xiao Jin's palm landed directly on Bai Mei's chest. This palm, Xiao Jin, was only used as a deterrent and didn't use much profound energy. Bai Mei was only forced to take a few steps back from the impact. But this was no longer a matter of using a few % of profound energy or suffering some kind of injury. Students of devil class, how dare he attack the headmaster? And in front of so many students? In front of His Majesty. Where would she put her face? The expression on Bai Mei's face grew colder and more ferocious. Her fingers curled up stiffly. Suddenly she looked at the 3 teachers, Old E, Old Fatty, Old Shen. All of you have seen it with your own eyes, the devil class students openly attacked teacher. Based on this alone, I have the right to order him to get out of the Heavenly Academy. The 3 headmasters' faces tightened. That was the only thing the Dizun had said since he had appeared. They had no idea what the Dizun was thinking. As for Old Man Guiyu and Ghost Doctor, they didn't open their mouths, but stared straight at Yiqing Luo. Naturally, they did not dare to speak rashly. Bai Mei was the only one screaming hysterically in the quiet training ground. But no matter how much she roared, not a single person echoed her. Bai Mei had never been so embarrassed before. Especially in front of DMO Xian. She clenched her fists tightly as she raised her hand again and grabbed towards Xiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi's direction. Bam! A ray of profound light shot over. Bai Mei was on her guard as she quickly retreated backwards. Chapter 2261. The red-clothed girl held a red feather fan in her hand, gently waving it. Her eyes, which were as bright as stars, stared at Bai Mei with a faint smile. The young girl's face was extremely beautiful, and she had the temperament of a fairy. She was also as gorgeous and enchanting as a rose. Obviously, she was just a little girl who was still wet behind the ears. However, compared to Bai Mei, who was still charming, she was even more bewitching. This made Bai Mei's heart thump even more clearly. Yiqing Luo. Are you trying to stand up for them? Bai Mei gritted her teeth and asked angrily. Stand up for me? Yiqing Luo raised her brows slightly. Such a small matter, I don't need to stand up for you. Small matter? Bai Mei's anger surged. Yiqing Luo's words meant that Yiqing Luo totally didn't put her in her eyes? Yiqing Luo's lips curved upwards, revealing a sweet amorous feeling. I just have a few words to say to Master Bai. Bai Mei knew that those words were definitely not good words. How could she possibly allow Yiqing Luo to humiliate her? Bai Mei took a deep breath and adjusted the expression on her face. Following that, she turned her head with an aggrieved look and looked at Dmo Xian. Overlord. Look at these devil-class students. Speak. A cold word interrupted Bai Mei's affectedly coquettish voice. Bai Mei was startled. Her deliberate expression of grievance and amorous feelings froze on her face. But Dmo Xian's eyes weren't looking at Bai Mei. Instead, it fell onto Yiqing Luo without blinking. Apparently, the word which he spat out earlier was directed at Yiqing Luo. Say what? Bai Mei reacted abruptly as her pupils dilated and looked at Dmo Xian in shock. Earlier Yiqing Luo said that she had something to say to Master Bai. Dmo Xian's say meant. In other words, let Yiqing Luo say it? Lord Dizun. Bai Mei's throat tightened. She had never expected that the Lord Dizun, who had been so gentle in the past few days, would suddenly become so unreachable. She thought that she could rely on Dmo Xian's power to suppress the arrogant Yiqing Luo. Unexpectedly, Dmo Xian did not have the slightest intention to save her face. What was going on? Even if the Overlord did not like her. But he would never embarrass her like this in front of others. Yiqing Luo's brows rose as her charming eyes sparkled brilliantly, making eye contact with Dmo Xian. She smiled sweetly. Her bright smile was like a deadly poppy flower, peerlessly beautiful. First, as a teacher, Master Bai has no self-respect for seducing a man in front of so many students. I very much question whether Master Bai has the ability to be a teacher. Secondly, White Master failed to seduce a man and was instead warned by the man to, please conduct yourself. This was indeed an extremely ridiculous matter, wasn't it? Since Master Bai has shamelessly seduced the overlord in public, then, it's only natural for my two sisters to laugh at you, isn't it? Two consecutive, isn't that so, rhetorical questions, each one more forceful than the last. Bai Mei was so shocked that she couldn't even open her mouth to refute. Yiqing Luo raised her slender brows as the corners of her mouth twitched in disdain. Thirdly, Master Bai did not allow any explanation and made a move on the students. Is he trying to use his identity as a teacher to suppress the students? If so, why can't my classmates retaliate in self-defense? Could it be that in the class of God, only the teachers are allowed to abuse the students and the students can only silently accept it? No resistance. When Yiqing Luo's words fell. Chapter 2262. Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes. In that case, only Master Bai has such an idea? Bai Mei regained her senses, fuming with anger. Yiqing Luo, you are talking nonsense. Yiqing Luo snorted disdainfully. An old cow wants to eat young grass? Would the overlord fancy you? And even try to seduce him? Where's your shame? She dragged out the last syllable. Oh, I forgot, you are already shameless, where's your shame? Yiqing Luo. Bai Mei was so angry that her eyes turned black and her body trembled uncontrollably. An old cow eating young grass? Yiqing Luo actually scolded her for eating young grass. Was she old? How was she old? She was obviously skilled and able to serve the overlord better. What's more, they were cultivators of profound qi, there was no difference in age at all, right? If they were to go to the upper realm, any 12 or 13-year-old child could very possibly be a senior who had been cultivating for hundreds of years. The overlord doesn't fancy me? Don't tell me he likes you? Look at that foxy look of yours, your eyes are glued to the overlord. How dare you make fun of me? Bai Mei was so angry that she blurted out. Yiqing Luo smiled instead of getting angry. She tilted her head and smiled sweetly. That's right, the overlord doesn't like an old cow like you. He likes people like me who are pure and untainted, pure and innocent, beautiful and young little beauties. Devil class students. Qing Luo, where's your shame? Where's your shame? For the sake of His Majesty, you've even thrown away your moral integrity. Class of God students. They admitted that Yiqing Luo was indeed beautiful, but where did she get the confidence to think that the overlord would fancy her? Moreover, was it really good to boast about herself? The three masters were speechless. Could it be that this girl had been bewitched by the overlord's peerless face? Bai Mei heard Yiqing Luo's words and gave a mocking laugh. She stared at Yiqing Luo, her eyes filled with ridicule. Yiqing Luo, aren't you thinking too highly of yourself? Do you really think that the overlord is such a shallow person? How dare you embarrass yourself in front of His Majesty with your looks? Who do you think you are? Really? Yiqing Luo raised her brows as she gave an incomparably enchanting smile. Suddenly, the corners of her mouth curled up and a trace of craftiness flashed across her charming eyes. Following that, she openly walked towards Dmo Xian's direction. Bai Mei's heart couldn't help but trembled as she stared at Yiqing Luo in shock. Yiqing Luo. Surely she wouldn't really want to seduce the overlord in public, right? Bai Mei wanted to stop Yiqing Luo from getting near. But before she could act, she recalled the scene of Dmo Xian avoiding her touch. She paused to stop him. Just based on Yiqing Luo, that tender little bean sprout, how could she arouse the overlord's interest? Chapter 2263. His elegant eyes met with her enchanting eyes. For eyes met and everything was silent. Both of them didn't say a word. They just looked at each other quietly. These two people were calm. But the crowd couldn't stay calm. Their hearts were about to jump out from their throats. What was with this strange atmosphere? Why didn't the overlord say anything? Yiqing Luo said she wanted to seduce the overlord. Why didn't she take the next step? In this strange and heavy atmosphere, the atmosphere was very strange. The crowd only felt that. Half of their lives were about to be scared out of their wits. Bai Mei clenched her fingers tightly as she looked at the two of them looking at each other without saying a word. There was a warm feeling in her heart. She was so angry that her eyes turned red as she pointed at Yiqing Luo angrily and started scolding. Yiqing Luo, the overlord didn't even want to bother about you and you still don't know. The word shame had yet to come out from her mouth. Dmo Xian glanced sideways as his peripheral vision casually swept past her. Bai Mei shuddered as she felt a burst of chilly air pressing down on her. It was just a faint peripheral vision, but it revealed a bone-chilling coldness. Following that, she saw Dmo Xian's gaze was completely on Yiqing Luo alone. His dark eyes were glistening as his thin lips curled into an evil cold arc. How are you going to seduce me? It wasn't hard to hear the joy in his voice that was as mellow as fine wine. The crowd's hearts were pounding as they looked at Yiqing Luo in disbelief. They couldn't imagine that after Yiqing Luo's bold and rude action, the overlord he wasn't angry and joked with Yiqing Luo? How could this be possible? The most shocked was Bai Mei. Bai Mei's flirtatious face was twisted into a ball due to shock and jealousy. However, this wasn't the end. The shock she gave the crowd hadn't ended yet. The young lady who was standing in front of Diamo Xian raised her slender brows slightly after hearing Diamo Xian's words. The young lady's eyes were curved, narrow and charming. She burst out laughing. Her laughter was filled with flirtatiousness and sweetness. It wasn't a deliberate act of coquettishness. It was extremely soothing to the ears. After that, the young lady stretched out a hand and hooked it around Diamo Xian's neck. With a little force, Diamo Xian's body leaned forward. The girl tiptoed and pressed her pink lips on the man's thin lips. It was a light kiss. The young lady moved her lips away and released his neck as she looked at Diamo Xian's eyes with a smile. Such a seduction, will Overlord be able to accept it? Night. Ching. Fall. Bai Mei screamed Yiqing Luo's name hysterically. Her entire body was shaking uncontrollably as her eyes stared deadly at Yiqing Luo, filled with dense murderous intent. Beastrice TC. Little slut. Yiqing Luo dared to blaspheme the Overlord. Chapter 2264. However, Teacher Yi's words were still too late. However, even if it wasn't too late, Bai Mei, who was in a fit of anger, would not listen to him. There was a deafening roar. The training ground was shrouded in dense qi that looked like a spider web. That huge net directly covered the direction where Bai Mei was coming from. Bang! Bai Mei let out a blood-curdling scream as she was sent flying and fell heavily on the ground. He didn't even have time to get up. That huge net had already enveloped her within. Ah! Bai Mei's shrill scream echoed throughout the training ground. Master Bai! The students cried out in fear. The faces of the three masters froze, and they dashed toward Bai Mei. However, the three of them were unable to get close to the large net formed by profound strength. Bai Mei spat out a mouthful of blood. Her injuries were extremely severe. She propped herself up in disbelief as she looked at Diamo Xian. Lord Overlord, why did you? Besides Diamo Xian, there was no one else who could hurt her. Other than Diamo Xian, there was no one else who could create such a huge net to trap her. It was Diamo Xian. Diamo Xian had made a move on her. Bai Mei felt a dull pain in her heart. His gaze suddenly swept to the front of Diamo Xian, the young lady who was smiling like a flower. Bai Mei's brain quivered. Yiqing Luo? It was Yiqing Luo. The reason why Diamo Xian took action against her was because of Yiqing Luo. Why did Diamo Xian want to help Yiqing Luo? Could it be that Diamo Xian had really taken a fancy to Yiqing Luo? At this thought, Bai Mei's heart was filled with intense hatred. Overlord. Fatty Master looked at the situation. It was getting more and more complicated. He looked at Diamo Xian awkwardly. Bai Mei she. Although her temper is a little hot-tempered, but Overlord's action, isn't it? Not too good? The fat teacher said meaningfully. As he spoke, he kept wiping the sweat from his forehead with his hand. He didn't want to come forward to persuade Diamo Xian. He didn't want to step out to accuse Diamo Xian. But Bai Mei was the teacher of the class of God, and she was the sister of that man. The Overlord and that lord had been good friends for many years. This was how he treated Bai Mei. Aren't you worried that the lord will be angry? Diamo Xian glanced at Fatty Master indifferently. Unfortunately, I'm very satisfied with this student's seduction, and I'm willing to let this student seduce me. Since Master Bai wants to hurt this student, I'll protect my woman. What's wrong with that? That was an understatement. It was an understatement. However, the meaning behind his words was like a clap of thunder that exploded in everyone's hearts. What did Dizun say? He said he was satisfied with Yiqing Luo's seduction? And he even personally admitted that Yiqing Luo was his woman? This must be a fake venerable sovereign. The students couldn't believe what they were hearing. The three headmasters were also stunned on the spot. No matter who it was, no one would be able to believe Diamo Xian's words. Diamo Xian's words made Bai Mei, who was trapped in the net, spit out another mouthful of blood. Anger was raging in his heart. Diamo Xian he was actually seduced by Yiqing Luo. Still said that Yiqing Luo was his woman? Yiqing Luo was just a little bean sprout. What qualifications did she have to seduce Dmo Xian? The overlord must have been bewitched by Yiqing Luo. Bai Mei's eyes were stained with poison as she stared fiercely at Yiqing Luo. Her silver teeth were almost crushed by her clenched teeth. Unexpectedly, while everyone was still in shock. Chapter 2265. The crowd sucked in a mouthful of cold air. Yiqing Luo, wasn't this too arrogant? Did she know who the man in front of her was? Don't you know what the words Di Zun represent? She actually rejected the overlord. And it was rejected in public. After the shock, everyone's heart was filled with fear and uneasiness. The overlord was such a high and mighty person. To be rejected by a 15-year-old young lady in public. Would he turn angry out of humiliation, and in order to hide this matter, he would slaughter all the witnesses? It was rumored that the overlord was bloodthirsty and cruel, extremely cold and emotionless. In order to protect his own face. There was a possibility that the overlord would really do this. This thought caused everyone to shiver involuntarily. They were all cursing Yiqing Luo in their hearts. They wondered, where did this woman get her confidence from, to be so arrogant and pampered here? Just because she was Ghost Doctor's disciple, the last that Guiyu was protecting? Did she know that the overlord's status was much more respectable than Guiyu, Ghost Doctor, and the rest? The students broke out in cold sweat, and some of them started crying out of fear of death. Yiqing Luo, you slut. The overlord has taken a liking to you, that's your past life's good fortune. Bai Mei was stunned by Yiqing Luo's words. Her hatred and anger towards Yiqing Luo had reached its peak at this moment. She had racked her brains to get the overlord. But the overlord was captivated by that slut Yiqing Luo. This slut dared to reject the overlord. This was a provocation to her. Was she ridiculing her for not getting what she wanted? The more she thought, the deeper the hatred in Bai Mei's heart. The deeper it was, the deeper Bai Mei's hatred towards Yiqing Luo grew. Yiqing Luo naturally didn't miss Bai Mei's growing hatred. Her lips curled as she smiled sweetly. The overlord has taken a liking to me, that means his foresight is good. Her words paused as Yiqing Luo's gaze was filled with contempt as she sized up the disheveled Bai Mei from head to toe. Following that, she sneered, taking a liking to me is better than taking a liking to an old cow like you. Master Bai, you're half a woman and you still have the cheek to seduce the overlord? You bitch. Bai Mei was so angry that she coughed up blood again. No woman would be able to control their emotions when they heard a woman they hated talking about their age. Yiqing Luo raised her eyebrows and smiled enchantingly. Don't tell me Master Bai thinks I'm wrong? Let me ask all the men here, who would they choose between an old man and a young and beautiful girl? Everyone lowered their heads, not daring to make a sound. However, many male students silently answered in their hearts. Of course he would choose a young and beautiful girl. In front of a young and beautiful girl, who would be interested in old Su. As long as it was a man, they would make the same choice. Everyone sneaked a peek at Dmo Xian. Unexpectedly, the honorable and mysterious overlord was also a vulgar man, just like any other man, based on his appearance. Of course, everyone only dared to ridicule these words in their hearts. Bai Mei was so angry that her vision darkened and she almost fainted. Hee. A low and hoarse chuckle sounded, filled with endless magnetism. Like a feather, it gently tickled the hearts of the crowd. The whole place instantly fell silent. Their gazes turned uniformly towards Dmo Xian. The overlord smiled? What did his smile mean? Chapter 2266. This student is right. Dmo Xian chuckled softly. Right? What's right? What Yiqing Luo said earlier was that the overlord had taken a liking to her because he had good taste. The overlord's right? Was he responding to Yiqing Luo's words? Or, the overlord felt that Yiqing Luo's ridicule of Bai Mei as a half-woman was right? The next moment, the overlord personally answered their doubts. This overlord's taste has always been good. The crowd. Why did it feel that the overlord's words were also an admission that he also felt that Bai Mei was a half-woman? Yiqing Luo nodded satisfactorily and looked at Dmo Xian in satisfaction. This is the overlord. If the overlord was really blind to take a liking to that kind of trash, who knows how others would ridicule him? Not only does it prove that the overlord has good taste, it also proves that the overlord is a real man. The crowd wanted to laugh, but most of them were afraid. Why was Yiqing Luo so daring? The words she said to the overlord was more daring than the previous one. Did she really think that if the overlord took a liking to her, he wouldn't kill her? After this thought passed, the crowd was slapped in the face again. Their noble overlord really didn't look angry at all. On the contrary, his smile deepened as he looked at Yiqing Luo without blinking and asked seriously, "Classmate, what do I need to do to make you like me too?" Yiqing Luo's expression turned serious as she looked at Yiqing Luo. This must be a fake overlord. Why would the overlord? Why would he use such a tone to talk to a girl? He still wanted to please Yiqing Luo, to make her like him too. Yiqing Luo raised her brows. "You seduce me too." Dmo Xian's thin lips curled up frivolously, his peach blossom eyes rippled with spring water. His long arms suddenly wrapped around Yiqing Luo's slender waist and locked her in his arms. He bent down and kissed her. "Now have you taken a liking to me?" Dmo Xian chuckled beside her ear. Yiqing Luo touched her pink lips and nodded satisfactorily. "Not bad, then I'll reluctantly take a liking to you." Class of God students looked like they had opened a dye workshop, colorful and colorful. The three masters were dumbstruck and couldn't keep up with the current development. Whereas the devil class students couldn't help but burst out laughing. Damn. He was fed another mouthful of dog food in front of everyone. Every time Di Zun appeared, they would be fed a mouthful of dog food. But fortunately, this time it wasn't just the 10 of them who were choked to death by dog food. Look at the colorful faces of the class of God students. Looking at the master's shocked expression. Seeing the master's shocked expression. Ching 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 luo ching ching luos. Their overlord was really filled with love towards Qing Luo. But, Qing Bai by Qing Tian Mo Mo Qing Shi. Mo Lord Qing Mo, by Qing Shi. Qing I Lord, Qing, was she Lord? Qing and said, "Qing." Looking at Dmo Xian, lowering his head and smiling as he whispered to Yiqing Luo. Bai Mei was so jealous that she wanted to break the atmosphere. Dmo Xian's cold voice rang. "Since this lord and this student have taken a liking to each other, then this student's matter is also my matter." Bai Mei's heart trembled as she looked at Dmo Xian in disbelief. Chapter 2267. No, don't. Yan Yu's tightly bound body was like a limbless animal on the ground, constantly struggling and squirming. Her face was filled with terror as she looked at Dmo Xian and cried out, "Don't! I'm wrong. I was wrong. Yiqing Luo, let me off, I promise. I promise that the next time I see you, I will immediately scram." Yan Yu was very clear. If Dmo Xian had not come out, even if he was brought to the dean, she still had a chance to return to the class of gods, a chance to make a comeback. However, if the overlord wanted to punish her, she would not be able to do so. No one in this world could save her. No one could disobey the orders of Di Zun. No, this was not an order at all. Even if it was just a casual word from His Majesty, everyone would regard it as an oracle. If she was taken away to be punished, even if he died, he would be cursed by thousands of people. They might even end up like xianxia, and even their own clans would be suppressed. She absolutely did not want to become like that. Yan Yu squirmed crazily. He didn't care about his image at all. Yan Yu wasn't the only one who knew the consequences of this matter. Everyone present was very clear about the consequences of offending Dmo Xian. Even Yi Luo, after Dmo Xian said those words, silently stood behind the class of God students. He was afraid that he would be implicated. No one spoke up for Yan Yu again. In the silent training ground, only Yan Yu's cries could be heard. Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes slightly as she leaned lazily in Dmo Xian's arms, as she disapprovingly glanced sideways at Yan Yu and smiled faintly. "Student Yan Yu, you think too highly of me. I merely wanted to ask you to cooperate with the investigation. Why do you look as though you're about to die?" She paused for a moment and then covered her mouth and exclaimed, "Could it be that you've really colluded with the underworld forces, and that's why you're afraid of the Special Investigations Department finding out the truth?" "I didn't. I really didn't." Yan Yu cried and shook his head. "Please let me go. I really know I was wrong." Yiqing Luo's brows rose as her smile revealed a sliver of impatience. "Student Yan, you must have begged the wrong person? I have no enmity with you, so why should I let you off? Moreover, as long as you are innocent, why should you be afraid of being investigated?" Yan Yu shook her head. Her tears had already smeared the makeup on her face, making it look extremely comical. She had never had any contact with the dark forces. How could he be afraid of an investigation? What she was afraid of was Yiqing Luo using the name of investigation to completely destroy her. "This student, don't disturb this sovereign's woman." Dmo Xian saw Yiqing Luo's impatience as he shot a cold glance towards Yan Yu. His voice suddenly turned icy cold. "Still not bringing her down?" The headmaster recovered from his shock. Suppressing the shock in his heart, Teacher Yi strode forward and said, I will go now. No. Teacher Yi, save me. Teacher Yi, save me. After Yan Yu was lifted up, he screamed hysterically. Hold on. Yi Qing Luo suddenly spoke. Trembling with fear, Teacher Yi halted his steps. He heard Yi Qing Luo speaking calmly. Director had offended the High Profound Hall's Hall Master and has already been ordered by the High Profound Hall's Hall Master to reflect on the wall for 3 days, so I'm afraid there's no way to investigate this matter. Teacher Yi's expression changed slightly as his voice trembled. Then send her to the Faculty Council and let the President of the Faculty Council carry out the investigation. When Director returns from his reflection, this matter will be resolved. He paused as though he was asking, Student Yi Qing Luo, what do you think? Faculty Council? Obviously, DMO Xian did not utter a single word. But Bai Mei was totally unable to restrain her fear towards DMO Xian. You said it yourself, that's your sister. How this lord treats you has nothing to do with your sister. DMO Xian's thin lips parted slightly. The words he spat out were also extremely cold. Bai Mei trembled and did not dare to speak. Yi Qing Luo bit her pink lips with interest and pinched DMO Xian's face with her little hand. Overlord, one master Bai is not enough. You even brought his sister? May I ask, who is this sister? DMO Xian lowered his head and looked at Yi Qing Luo. His thin lips revealed a smile. Why? Are you jealous? DMO Xian's voice just landed. Bai Mei seemed to have caught a breakthrough point as she screamed shrilly. Yi Qing Luo, you didn't hear wrongly. My sister and Overlord's relationship is not something you can interfere with. Star. Chapter 2269. Seeing Yi Qing Luo's hand pinching DMO Xian's face. Not only was DMO Xian not infuriated, his brows were filled with gentleness. But when DMO Xian faced her, it was as if he had fallen into an icehouse. Why, on what basis did Yi Qing Luo, that slut who only knew how to bully others, other than her pretty face, was able to gain DMO Xian's attention? Even if she couldn't get it, she would not allow Yi Qing Luo to be together with DMO Xian happily. Which woman would not mind that the man she loved had other relationships with other women? Even if they didn't say it out loud, they would still feel a knot in their hearts. Furthermore, the relationship between the Overlord and her sister was something that the Overlord was unable to explain clearly to Yi Qing Luo. The more he explained, the more Yi Qing Luo would misunderstand. The minute Yi Qing Luo misunderstood the Overlord, between them, can they still be happy together? No, absolutely not. It was just as Bai Mei had predicted. After she yelled those words, Yi Zichen's expression changed. DMO Xian's expression suddenly sunk. His ruthless gaze fell on her. There seemed to be a whirlpool in his ink-black eyes. Bai Mei was so shocked that she seemed to have lost all her strength and collapsed to the ground. She was terrified. She knew that her words had infuriated DMO Xian. But more than that, he couldn't suppress his ecstasy. DMO Xian's expression clearly explained. Her words would definitely incite the conflict between him and Yi Qing Luo. Anyway, for the sake of his sister, DMO Xian would never kill her. At most, he would receive some punishment. As long as Yi Qing Luo and DMO Xian were separated. So what if he had to suffer a little punishment? This was the first time the two of them had met and gotten to know each other. Especially for a young lady like Yi Qing Luo. It was too easy to misunderstand because DMO Xian had other relationships with other women, thus provoking DMO Xian. Bai Mei's thoughts. How could Yi Qing Luo possibly not tell? But what made Yi Qing Luo surprised was DMO Xian's expression when Bai Mei mentioned that sister. It could be seen that DMO Xian indeed had an unusual relationship with Bai Mei's sister. Of course, she and DMO Xian had experienced many things big and small. They were willing to give up their lives for each other. She would naturally believe in DMO Xian. Looking at DMO Xian's gloomy expression, while Yi Qing Luo raised her head to look at DMO Xian's side profile with an astonished look, Bai Mei plucked up her courage and sneered, "Young lady, as someone who has been through it, let me give you a piece of advice. Don't think too highly of yourself. In His Majesty's eyes, you are nothing but a toy. You will never be able to overcome the relationship between His Majesty and my sister." Bai Mei's words had several layers of meaning. Firstly, she used the words "experienced" to indicate that she and DMO Xian had an unusual relationship. She was provoking Yi Qing Luo and using her own sister to infuriate her. However, after Yi Qing Luo heard Bai Mei's hysterical sneer, there was not the slightest bit of emotion on her face. Her tone was so calm that it was almost impossible to tell what she was feeling. "Oh." Bai Mei was startled. Everyone was taken aback. What does "oh" mean? Did she not understand the meaning behind Bai Mei's words? Or, Yi Qing Luo didn't like Dmo Xian. In order to provoke Bai Mei, she intentionally seduced Dmo Xian. So, Yi Qing Luo didn't care what relationship Dmo Xian and Bai Mei's sister had? But, even if she didn't like him now, it didn't mean that she wouldn't like him in the future. This was the Overlord. Chapter 2270. Bai Mei's venomous gaze almost swallowed Yi Qing Luo. She was just a 15-year-old girl. Why was her heart so strong? No matter how she tried to provoke her, she couldn't arouse Yi Qing Luo's emotions. Looking at Yi Qing Luo's indifferent face, leaning lazily in Dmo Xian's arms, one of her fingers hooked a lock of Dmo Xian's hair, twining it in her hand. Yi Qing Luo also deliberately tugged his hair from time to time. However, Dmo Xian didn't show any signs of anger. Instead, he looked at Yi Qing Luo with doting eyes. Even if Yi Qing Luo sometimes used a little too much strength and pulled Dmo Xian's scalp, Dmo Xian still had a doting smile on his lips, allowing the girl to do whatever she wanted to him. His heart was about to go crazy with jealousy. His anger was surging, he couldn't wait to rush out and pull the two apart. Yi Qing Luo casually met Bai Mei's gaze. Her hand suddenly hooked around Dmo Xian's neck. Her smile was full of obvious provocation and ridicule. "Master Bai, do you think I will treat your sister as a competitor?" Bai Mei's throat tightened, her anger was monstrous but she couldn't explode. Yi Qing Luo continued to smile. "But Master Bai, you are already so old, your sister is older than you. I also said, my Xian only likes young and beautiful girls like me, you and your sister don't have this chance." Yi Qing Luo's voice was sweet and melodious. Her tone was extremely calm, extremely careless. But what she said almost made Bai Mei vomit blood. "Just because you are young, you want to seduce the Overlord. You trash. At most one day the Overlord will be tired of you. What are you so proud of?" Yi Qing Luo raised her eyebrows and looked at her smilingly. "Yes, I am just relying on my young age, you can't win even if you want to." She paused and looked up, her eyes curved as she gazed at the elegant face in front of her. "As for when the Overlord will be tired of me, it is not up to you to decide." She blinked her eyes and smiled extremely brightly. "Xian, you say? When will you be tired of me?" Not waiting for Dmo Xian to answer, Bai Mei roared angrily, "You? Who gave you permission to call the Overlord's name so intimately?" Even her sister couldn't call the sovereign by his name. Yi Qing Luo was just a slut. What right did she have to call Dmo Xian's name so intimately? A slut will always be a slut. Yi Qing Luo still had a beaming smile on her face as she hooked her arms around Dmo Xian's neck and acted coquettishly. Xian, you just say it, when will you get tired of me?" She had purposely used that voice of hers. She repeatedly shouted, Xian. After she finished shouting, Yi Qing Luo felt goosebumps all over her body. The group of students from Devil class all shuddered. Damn it, that Qing Luo earlier was simply too scary. Bai Mei's face was so twisted that her original facial features could no longer be seen. She looked like an evil ghost from hell, extremely terrifying. Following that, a voice that was as clear as water yet had traces of warmth resounded in this strange atmosphere. "I won't get tired of you for the rest of my life." That voice was like waves of water ripples, dizzying the air, piercing through everyone's eardrums and right into their hearts. Everyone was shocked. This sentence was said by the Overlord. The Overlord was replying to Yi Qing Luo's words. He said that he would never get tired of Yi Qing Luo for the rest of his life. This was considered as a confession in front of everyone? The Overlord was really... Chapter 2271. Devil Classes Students. Damn it, they were stuffed with a mouthful of dog food in public again. Could they still play happily? Class of God students? Damn it, what kind of luck did this female student from the lower class have? Why was her luck so good? First it was Ghost Doctor, then it was Guiyu, and now there was a love at first sight, the Overlord. This young lady was simply a winner in life. The students expressed their jealousy but they didn't dare to show it out. Dmo Xian's words successfully pleased Yi Qing Luo. She gave a satisfied smile as she raised her hand as though it was a reward as she caressed Dmo Xian's face. But Xian, this lifetime, I'm not satisfied. Then the next lifetime, the life after that, the lifetime after that. Dmo Xian's low and hoarse voice rang without any hesitation. Yi Qing Luo nodded her head vigorously as she leaned forward and kissed his lips. Be good, this is your reward. Dmo Xian's dark eyes were dull as he stared deeply at Yi Qing Luo's pink lips. That expression, Yiqing Luo could tell what Dmo Xian was thinking about. She laughed lightly as her charming eyes swept the surroundings. Suddenly she blinked as she leaned into Dmo Xian's arms. Xian, I feel so tired. Dmo Xian carried her up horizontally. Yiqing Luo's hands hooked around his neck. Her head leaned against his chest as she closed her eyes. The two's actions seemed as though they had practiced for hundreds, thousands of times. Just like that, they leaned against each other steadily. It inexplicably made one feel that he was a good match for her. His wife said she was tired. Dmo Xian, who pampered his wife like his life, couldn't be bothered about the others as he carried Yiqing Luo and turned around to leave. He didn't care how Bai Mei was shouting and screaming behind him. Looking at the backs of the two people leaving, Devil Class's crowd covered their eyes as they heaved a sigh of relief. The two lovey-dovey people had finally left. They were about to be stuffed to death. Until Dmo Xian carried Yiqing Luo and ran far away. Guiyu then reacted to it. F***K. I had just made my debut and that lad actually came out to snatch my limelight. Ghost Doctor glanced at old man Guiyu indifferently. I found my place, I've given my backing, I'm going back. We are the real saviors who came to save Luo Yu. Why do we have to make way for that brat? I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. Old man Guiyu expressed his dissatisfaction. When he and Ghost Doctor found out that Yiqing Luo had suffered grievances in the God class, they dropped whatever they were doing and hurriedly rushed over. He had wanted to support his daughter and suppress those arrogant students from the class of gods. But, Dmo Xian, that brat, why did he appear so coincidentally? Every minute they would be robbed of all their credit. The Ghost Doctor's sinister eyes flickered. Our debt of standing up for the girl, counted on Di Zun. Old man Guiyu rubbed his nose. That's a must. When the students of the class of gods heard the conversation between Guiyu and the Ghost Doctor, they felt a lingering fear. Guiyu called the venerable sovereign, that kid. The Ghost Doctor actually didn't stop him. Although the Di Zun had gone far away, he was still a Di Zun. What if the venerable sovereign returned? Hearing Guiyu's rude words, wouldn't he be punished at any minute? Wait a minute. Yiqing Luo, Guiyu and the Ghost Doctor's relationship. They were a family. Guiyu called the venerable sovereign. Kid. Could it be? Chapter 2272. That Overlord and your class's student Yiqing Luo, do you know each other? The Devil class students turned their heads and looked at the person who asked the question. The class of God students immediately averted their eyes, indicating that this question was not what they wanted to ask. But all of them pricked up their ears, which indicated that they were very concerned about this question. The Devil class students' lips curled up as they gave a distant but polite smile. What do you think? They felt. The two of them definitely had something going on a long time ago. Looking at the atmosphere between Yiqing Luo and the Overlord. No matter how they looked at it, it didn't seem like the first time they met. The two of them stood together and the air was filled with an inexplicable sourness of love. Smelly. No matter how they looked at it, they were a perfect match. Absolutely not the first time they met. But they didn't dare to say it out loud. After all, the male lead in this incident was the high and mighty Overlord. The Overlord was not someone they could make up stories about. The students of Devil class smiled mysteriously at them again. Then in an orderly manner, they walked towards the three dazed masters. Masters, today's special training has ended, let's return to the academy to tidy ourselves up. May I know when we will gather tomorrow? The three masters were still in a daze. Dmo Xian and Yiqing Luo's scene was too shocking. Long Yunzhan had asked twice but the three masters didn't answer. Until the third time, Bai Mei's sharp and ear-piercing roar awakened the three of them. All of you get out of the class of God. We, the class of God, do not welcome this kind of bullying students. Bai Mei vented her hatred towards Yiqing Luo onto the Devil class students. Fatty Master coughed violently. His eyes, which were like slits, looked at the 10 Devil class students who were standing in a neat row in front of him, respectfully. These students were all Yiqing Luo's classmates and brothers. It wasn't hard to tell that they were very united. Their relationship with Guiyu and Ghost Doctor was also extremely close. What's more, when they met the Overlord, they had never been timid or knelt down. They were masters. Masters from the upper realm. And in the lower realm, they had searched for so many elite cultivators for the upper realm. Naturally, they knew more than those students. Naturally, he could tell. It was absolutely not the first time the Overlord and Yiqing Luo had met each other. To be able to make the overlord put down everything and accompany Yiqing Luo to fool around. The relationship between them, they must have an extraordinary relationship. These devil-class students, the masters naturally did not dare to slight them. "Gather here at 5 in the morning," the fat teacher replied. The students of devil class thanked him politely. Just as he was about to leave, he was called back by the fat teacher. Although you have a close relationship with the adults, but you are here for special training. You still have no right to ask us to give you special treatment. So, the fat master chose his words carefully. The students of devil class smiled. "Masters, we naturally understand this. Our motive for coming here is to make ourselves stronger, to raise our own abilities. We don't need any special treatment." The fat teacher heaved a sigh of relief and nodded. "That's good. You should hurry up." "Wait." Long Yunzhan suddenly said coldly. He raised his azure blue eyes and stared deeply at Fatty Master. "I hope you can give our devil class some special treatment." The fat master's expression changed slightly. Chapter 2273. Students, this request, forgive us, we really can't agree. Teacher E walked over and said with a heavy expression, "In other matters, the class of gods will try our best to satisfy you, but, in special training, no one can be special." This was their insistence on their own teaching methods. It was also their attitude towards special training. Even if the overlord personally asked, they would never compromise on the matter of special training. "I hope that the special training of our devil class can be stricter." Long Yunzhan looked at the three masters one by one. The masters' solemn expressions loosened and they looked at him in surprise. Did they hear wrongly? The special treatment requested by the devil class, was it stricter on them? Long Yunzhan looked at the trio's expressions of disbelief and nodded his head seriously. "Yes, I hope that in this month our devil class's special training will be stronger than the usual special training of the class of gods." Teacher Xinqing coughed lightly. "Children, do you know what special training the class of gods goes through? How much stronger your bodies?" "We have no problem." Long Yunzhan said calmly, "Since I brought it up to you, I am naturally mentally prepared." The other 9 devil class students smiled. "Teacher, we have said before that our main purpose in coming to the class of gods is to become stronger. Don't worry if we can handle it. If we can't, we will not force it." 10 devil class students bowed down respectfully towards the 3 masters in unison. The 3 teachers looked at each other and saw helplessness in each other's eyes. They could not reject the students' request. "All right, since this is your request, we will gradually increase the intensity of your special training. If you can't handle it, you can stop at any time." "Thank you, teacher." The students of the devil class bowed respectfully and left the training grounds. The students of the class of gods looked like they had gone through a big battle. Their uniforms were soaked in sweat. They fell to the ground, panting. Xinqing looked at the direction the students left in. "This group of students? I'm really interested. I want to go and understand them." "Yes, go and look for Yanmu to take a look at the information of the devil class. I have been a teacher for over 10 years and this is the first time that I can't understand the students." Fat teacher nodded. No matter if it was Yiqing Luo's backing or her forces, it was still the students from the devil class. They were all incomparably shocked. As teachers, they could naturally see the talent and aptitude of each student. Other than Long Yunzhan, Qiao Jin, Kitty Li and Mo Yuing, the talents of these 4 people were a little blurry and hazy. As for the other 6, their aptitudes were not bad. But compared to the students from the class of gods, they were clearly miles apart. However, as luck would have it, these students could only be regarded as above-average students. Yet, he was able to easily complete special training missions that even the students of the class of gods couldn't complete. Just what secrets were they hiding? Or could it be that they had experienced some sort of change before? That was why it had become so mysterious and peculiar? Heavenly Academy, Yiqing Luo Dormitory. Yiqing Luo washed off all the perspiration on her body and casually put on a red inner garment before returning to the bed. Dmo Xian laid on the side of the bed in an extremely seductive posture. A head of ribbon-like black hair covered the entire bed. That magnificent face seemed to bear the endless pampering of the world. Chapter 2274. Yiqing Luo didn't argue as she placed her hand into his palm. The man's wrist exerted strength. Yiqing Luo fell into his arms. Her nostrils were filled with his elegant sandalwood scent. She rubbed her little face against his chest, extremely reluctant to leave. Her kitten-like expression made Dmo Xian's face reveal a joyful expression. His lips curled as he gave a low laugh. What's the matter? Not happy. Yiqing Luo replied honestly. Dmo Xian's large palm held her face. With Ghost Doctor and Guiyu supporting you from the front, I also cooperated with your performance from the back and taught the person you wanted to teach a lesson. Why are you still not happy? Yiqing Luo pursed her pink lips as she stared at him. You know the answer but still ask. Dmo Xian laughed lightly again. His long arm grabbed, pulling Yiqing Luo into his arms. He was laughing. His chest was heaving up and down. The luxurious brocade robe's patterns caressed her delicate skin. Yiqing Luo struggled as her pink fists hung on his chest. Dmo Xian. Laugh again and you'll sleep at the entrance tonight. Dmo Xian hugged her petite body tightly. He lowered his head. Mo Yao's pupils seemed like it was decorated with bright stars and ripples after ripples of water. It was extremely captivating. Yiqing Luo's heart, under this gaze, suddenly tightened. You're angry that I didn't tell you about me in the god class. Dmo Xian's fingertips gently caressed her skin, bit by bit, as though under his fingertips was this world's peerless treasure. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips silently agreeing. You're not happy because you don't know what relationship I have with Bai Mei's sister. Because you know I indeed really care about her sister. Dmo Xian continued. His tone was gentle, as though water could be squeezed out. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased as she became even more displeased. Dmo Xian lifted her lower jaw lightly as his gentle and affectionate gaze directly collided into Yiqing Luo's eyes, heart, limbs and bones. Yiqing Luo's eyelashes fluttered as she wanted to hide. However, the man's strength was too great and she couldn't retreat at all. The reason why I'm in the class of gods, one of the reasons, is because of that map. Dmo Xian explained word by word gently, his eyes filled with indulgence, without a hint of impatience. That map? Dmo Xian said that the profound flames W diagram would cause the entire world to fall into an endless war. Was there anything related to the arcane flames W diagram in the class of gods? Don't think too much, you just need to protect yourself and keep the secret of the map. Leave the rest to me. Dmo Xian lowered his head and planted a light kiss on her forehead. Yiqing Luo was filled with questions but after Dmo Xian's words she swallowed them back. Dmo Xian was unwilling to say. No matter how she asked, she couldn't get anything out of him. Chapter 2275. A monster. What a torturous little demon. Yiqing Luo cursed silently in her heart. However, his face was still expressionless, and his eyes were full of resentment. And I have to leave the Nirvana realm for a while and won't be back for a while. Dmo Xian didn't hide anything. Leave the Nirvana realm? Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased slightly as she grabbed his palm with both hands. Because of the map? Yes, but not entirely. Dmo Xian clasped her wrist and pulled her into his arms. His long and narrow eyebrows were slightly raised, forming a demonic arc. His peach blossom eyes glowed with a myriad of splendor that rippled like water. He stroked the hair of the girl in his arms, his voice calm and magnetic. During this period of time, focus on your special training in the class of gods. Don't worry about anything else. Don't bother yourself with anything else. Wait for my return. Nestled in the man's arms, Yiqing Luo symbolically struggled for a while. Hearing the news that Dmo Xian was going to leave the Nirvana realm for a period of time, Yiqing Luo's heart had an indescribable feeling of uneasiness. She hugged Dmo Xian's firm waist and pouted gloomily. Then when are you coming back? Very soon. Dmo Xian didn't give a specific time but answered with two firm words. Yiqing Luo gave a soft moan as her little head rubbed against his chest. She did not have the intention to force Dmo Xian to stay. Dmo Xian was willing to give her the space to grow. She would also give Dmo Xian the freedom to solve his problems. Dmo Xian's identity was a mystery. His arrogance and disdain for everything seemed to be innate. With her current level, there was no way she could provide him with any help. She could not delay Dmo Xian. But Yiqing Luo was even more determined in her belief. She had to pick up the pace. She wanted to be a woman who would make the world feel that she was worthy of Dmo Xian. Just like on the training ground. No one believed that Dmo Xian would fancy her. Even if he had taken a fancy to it. In everyone's eyes it was just a game. Because no one felt that she was worthy of Dmo Xian. That was right, Dmo Xian was so noble and mysterious. He didn't seem like someone from the mortal world. She wanted to chase after Dmo Xian's footsteps. It would take a long time, a very long time. Don't let your imagination run wild. Dmo Xian abruptly lifted her delicate body up. We cultivators have a longer lifespan than ordinary people. We have plenty of time, don't be anxious, I'll wait for you. His tone was gentle, filled with confidence and trust from the bottom of his heart. The gentle voice easily pierced into Yiqing Luo's heart. Yiqing Luo's eyes turned slightly sour as her lips curled into a brilliant smile, burying her head into his neck. I will do my best. Dmo Xian patted her head. After hugging for a while, Yiqing Luo's thoughts returned and suddenly her expression changed as she tugged at Dmo Xian's collar. Wait. Why did the topic suddenly change so much? You don't even think of using sweet words to change the topic. Tell me honestly, what kind of secret do you have with Bai Mei's sister? Leniency for those who confess, severity for those who resist. Dmo Xian's honey trap. He could flirt with her until she forgot about him. He had almost forgotten about the most important question. A woman's possession was no less than a man's, especially the man she loved. In front of Bai Mei, she casually expressed that Sister Bai Mei was very old and she wasn't worried. But in fact, Dmo Xian's reaction towards Sister Bai Mei made her heart feel a knot. Yiqing Luo wasn't a pretentious person. Chapter 2276. After all, if the two of them were together, if there was any unhappiness, they could talk it out face to face. This was the best solution. Otherwise they would keep it in their hearts. The more they held it in, the more things they would imagine and the sadder their hearts would be. Over time, once it exploded, their feelings would be impacted and cracks would form. Yiqing Luo knelt beside Dmo Xian. She could clearly see the expression on Dmo Xian's face. When she mentioned Bai Mei's sister, Dmo Xian's pair of shimmering eyes flashed obviously. It wasn't easy to detect, but Yiqing Luo caught it. Her pink lips pursed even tighter. She wasn't suspecting that Dmo Xian had some special feelings for Bai Mei's sister. But it was extremely not, this feeling of not knowing anything. She could ignore Dmo Xian's overly secretive and important matters. But this matter concerned women. Yiqing Luo didn't want to be isolated and ignorant. Bai Mei's sister. Her identity I can't tell you for now. Dmo Xian sighed softly as he lowered his eyes and held her hand, gently caressing it. Yiqing Luo's brows creased, all the unhappy and unpleasant emotions were clearly displayed on her face. Dmo Xian sighed again. He got up slightly and put his arm around Yiqing Luo's shoulder. But, I can tell you towards her I only admire. Admiration? This word coming out from Dmo Xian's mouth really made one rather shocked. The person whom Dmo Xian admired, what kind of person would that be? He used the word admire. It was enough to show that Dmo Xian indeed had no such thoughts towards Bai Mei's sister. He only treated her as an elder and respected her. Elder? Yiqing Luo thought of Bai Mei's half-aged, half-feminine face, as she couldn't help but burst out laughing with a puff sound. She didn't know where Bai Mei got her courage from, to dare to have improper thoughts towards Dmo Xian. What's more, she even gave her own sister to Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian narrowed his peach blossom eyes as he spoke in a low voice. Happy now? Still not happy. Yiqing Luo arrogantly raised her little chin and snorted. A lot of those feelings all start from admiration. Now it's admiration, but after you admire her more and more, you won't be able to forget her in your heart, and then what? Dmo Xian's thin lips curved upwards as he asked in a low and hoarse voice. Yiqing Luo was bewitched by his smile as her little heart pounded wildly. She bit her pink lips and her voice became softer. Then, you ran away with her. Dmo Xian leaned forward and his husky magnetic laughter tickled her eardrums bit by bit. Didn't you say that I like this type of young and pretty little beauty? Bai Mei was already so old. Wasn't her sister even older? Why would I run away with her? I don't care. Anyway, other than me, you can't give any feelings to other women. Yiqing Luo was as overbearing as a child. Her little hand clutched Dmo Xian's collar as she pouted. This kind of coquettish act made Dmo Xian's heart melt. It was Dmo Xian's first time seeing this. Seeing the seriousness in the girl's eyes, he couldn't help but laugh out loud. Lil Luo cared so much about her. Possession valued so much. This also meant that she had truly treated him as her man. Lil Luo's character, she understood it all too well. Dmo Xian's long and narrow peach blossom eyes curved as he looked at Yiqing Luo with a grin. Lil Luo is so overbearing, then, have you thought of what method to use to give all my feelings to you alone? Chapter 2277. Yiqing Luo stared at Diamo Xian. How could he not understand the deep meaning behind Diamo Xian's words? This man really knew how to take a mile when given an inch, although he was complaining in his heart. However, when he met that pair of smiling peach blossom eyes, her heart softened a little. She glared at Diamo Xian again in annoyance. She tugged at Diamo Xian's collar as she bent down and bit down hard on Diamo Xian's lips. Then he stood up and snorted, "I've stamped my mark here, so you're mine." Diamo Xian laughed heartily as he leaned against the headboard. His slender fingers glowed with flowing fluorescent light. Bit by bit he wiped his lips. He chuckled like a fox. "That's all? You still want a foot after giving me an inch? Believe it or not, I will kick you off the bed right now." Yiqing Luo's cheeks were slightly red as she lifted her leg to kick Diamo Xian. Diamo Xian's large palm easily caught Yiqing Luo's little feet. Yiqing Luo struggled and shook her legs, but the man refused to let go. She just came out of the shower. Her 2 fair feet were caught in Diamo Xian's palm. Yiqing Luo's face turned even redder as she couldn't help but call out, "Diamo Xian." Diamo Xian's lips curled into a sinister smile. His eyes were gloomy as he stared at his palm at the snow-white, delicate and lovely feet. Suddenly, he slowly pressed his lips on the instep of his foot. Yiqing Luo's breathing seemed to have stopped. Her eyes widened, and when she came back to her senses, she wanted to pull her leg back even more. The glint in Diamo Xian's eyes turned darker and darker. Some kind of emotion was stirring in his heart. His low and hoarse voice was like a scorching fire, wrapping around Yiqing Luo. "Lil Luo, are you sure you want to buy my feelings just like that?" Yiqing Luo knew that he did it on purpose. He wanted her to take the initiative. She gritted her teeth and looked at the devilish smile on the face of unparalleled beauty in front of her. She suddenly pounced forward and pressed onto Diamo Xian. "Diamo Xian, see if I don't make you hover between life and death." The next day, Yiqing Luo was hovering between life and death when she was shaken awake by Kitty Li. Her whole body was sore and limp. He opened his sleepy eyes and saw a cute and delicate little face in front of him. The 2 ears on the top of her head were still twitching non-stop. Yiqing Luo stretched out her hand and stroked Kitty Li's head before hugging her in her arms. "Kitty cat, accompany me to continue sleeping for a while." "Sister." Li's little claws pried Yiqing Luo's hand away. "Get up quickly, we're about to gather at the class of gods. The fat teacher said that we must gather before the hour of the morning. No one is allowed to be late." "Class of gods? Gather?" Yiqing Luo's chaotic mind suddenly cleared up. She sat up on the bed. "What time is it now?" "You have the time it takes for an incense stick to burn to prepare." Kitty Li puffed up her cheeks. "The Overlord really doesn't know how to care for you. He knows that we still need special training, but he still tortures you like this." Yiqing Luo blushed as she cupped Kitty Li's little face and rubbed it hard. "Kitty cat, you're still a child, don't talk about such a mature topic." Kitty Li let out a meow meow sound, her little claws flapping about. Yiqing Luo let go of her face. "Be good, go wait outside, I'll be out soon." Kitty Li reluctantly walked out of Yiqing Luo's room. Yiqing Luo endured the soreness and limp body and climbed up. The bedding on the bed had been changed into a new one. Her uniform was hanging by the side, even the underwear was prepared in an orderly manner. Yiqing Luo blushed. Chapter 2278. Yiqing Luo's face was filled with disdain, but she was actually overjoyed as she quickly put on her clothes. In her mind, she was still recalling the words Diamo Xian said when he left while hugging her. Diamo Xian said that before he returned, Bai Mei would not have the chance to appear in front of her. The teachers and students in Class of Gods would definitely not dare to go against Devil Class. In Class of Gods, he had a friend who was a student in Class of Gods. If he was not around and met with any unsolvable problems, he could look for that friend for help. Yiqing Luo was in a daze from Diamo Xian's torment and didn't listen to him at all. Now that she was awake, she recalled what Diamo Xian said. She was slightly stunned. Friend? Student? Diamo Xian's friend in Class of Gods? And a student? Why didn't she feel that any student in Class of Gods was friends with Diamo Xian at the training ground? Diamo Xian seemed to have said something at the end. She was in a daze and didn't hear it clearly. Hearing Kitty Li's urging from outside, Yiqing Luo shook her head. Let's not think about these things for now. She must rush to the training ground before 5 in the morning. She had just been in the limelight in Class of Gods yesterday. If she was late today, it would only make the students in Class of Gods even more certain that she was bullying others. After a quick tidying up, Yiqing Luo dragged Kitty Li and headed towards Class of Gods' courtyard. When they reached the training ground, it was exactly 5 in the morning. Not considered late. Yiqing Luo heaved a sigh of relief as she looped one arm around Kitty Li's shoulder and panted heavily. Upon seeing this, the students of Devil Class, one by one, they walked over with ambiguous smiles. Qing Luo, look at your sleepy face, don't tell me? You didn't sleep at all last night? Where's the Overlord? Why don't I see him accompanying you? Don't tell me? The Overlord has been squeezed dry by Qing Luo and is still resting in the room? Each teasing was more ridiculous than the other. Yiqing Luo's face turned slightly red at the start, and towards the end, her face turned gloomy as she clenched her fist and threw a punch towards Xiao Jin, who was nearest to her. You're trying to silence me? Xiao Jin covered his face and jumped back a few steps. The 11 of them joked around, causing the air flow in the silent and oppressive training ground to ease a little. The students of the Class of Gods were getting more and more suspicious. This group of students from the Devil Class actually dared to make fun of the Overlord. It could be seen that the students of the Devil Class usually had a very good relationship with the Overlord. That was to say, Dmo Xian and Yiqing Luo had long been a couple. The Ghost Doctor, Old Man Guiyu, and now Dizun. Who in the Class of Gods would dare to find trouble with the Class of Devils? That person's brain must be stuffed with grass to be able to do such a thing. Cough, cough, cough. The Fat Master cleared his throat. The Devil Class students immediately stopped joking around and quickly returned to the middle of the training ground, standing in line. The students from the Class of Gods silently shifted to the side, afraid that they would accidentally bump into the Class of Devils and become the next cannon fodder. 3 masters stood in front of the students of the 2 classes. His gaze was extremely dignified as he swept a glance across the crowd. His deep voice was steady. Bai Mei's behavior is improper, and vulgar, leading the students wrongly. The Class of Gods represents the Heavenly Academy to remove Bai Mei's position as a master, and this matter will be recorded in the main academy's archives. Chapter 2279. Last night, after Dmo Xian left with Yiqing Luo, the 3 teachers also took the opportunity to disperse the students in the field. But Dmo Xian had no intention to let Bai Mei off. That big net that trapped Bai Mei had been supported by profound qi for a day and a night. Until just now, there was still an hour before the time of the 5th hour. Bai Mei was carried out by them. Bai Mei's injuries were not serious, just some superficial wounds. However, he remained in the same position for several hours without being able to move. The muscles all over Bai Mei's body were stiff. She fell into a coma after being dragged down. Although Bai Mei had already been punished physically. But everything that Bai Mei had done yesterday. Indeed, it was against the morals of a master. Removing Bai Mei from the position was not only for the sake of the Overlord, but also Bai Mei had to accept the punishment. It could be said that once there was such a record in the main courtyard, no one dared to invite Bai Mei to be a teacher in any school. This was equivalent to banning. While Fatty Master was explaining Bai Mei's punishment, he was paying attention to Yiqing Luo's expression, only to discover that after he finished explaining Bai Mei's punishment, Yiqing Luo's expression did not change at all. Not even the slightest bit of joy. Fatty Master paused for a moment. Could it be? Yiqing Luo was very dissatisfied with this punishment? Cough. Master Yi coughed lightly and walked out. And Yan Yu, I have sent her to the faculty council and detained her there for further investigation. Yiqing Luo was still expressionless. Fatty Master and Master Yi looked at each other. They expressed, they really couldn't take a student with such a strong backing, although they said they didn't care. But in their hearts, they still respected the Overlord so much that they couldn't treat the Devil Class and Yiqing Luo as a normal student. What Yiqing Luo means is, don't talk so much nonsense, start training quickly. Shun Qing resumed his usual laziness. He lifted his eyelids lazily and glanced at Yiqing Luo. The 2 masters smiled awkwardly. Then the special training began. During the warm-up, Yiqing Luo's eyes searched among the students in the Class of Gods. Not only to find the friend that Dmo Xian mentioned. He also wanted to take a look, was the upper Xuanhuan master's words true or not? There was another shortcut to the upper realm. The Class of Gods would know, who was it? But after looking around, Yiqing Luo didn't see any suspects. The special training began. According to the Devil Class's request, the fat teacher adjusted the amount of exercise for their special training based on their performance in the weight-bearing cross-country race the day before. Indeed, it could be considered as strengthening their special training. As for the students of the class of gods, they naturally had to undergo the same level of special training as the students of the class of devils. The three masters looked at the students of the two classes who had already begun their special training. Teacher E lowered his head and looked at the information in his hands. His face was full of amazement. Looks like we really need to pay more attention to things outside of the class of gods. The student Yiqing Luo is really an extraordinary talent. If it wasn't for her own uniqueness, the overlord wouldn't have fallen in love with her at first sight. Shen Qing hung lazily on Fatty Master's body, smiling as he looked at the direction where Yiqing Luo had left. The information of the devil class doesn't match up. Fatty Master glanced at the information in his hands. They had specially gotten it from the faculty council last night. They had also specially inquired about the rumor that the devil class was once known as the waste class. Star. Chapter 2280. These students were indeed not particularly gifted students. On the contrary, before they entered the Heavenly Academy, their innate talents were ordinary and they were bullied in their own families. To be admitted into the Heavenly Academy, it was all because of their willpower that refused to give up, forcing themselves to pass the entrance examinations, one stage after another. But the current Heavenly Academy's director was a man who sought glory. These students, although they had passed the entrance examinations, but their innate talents were too poor. So he set up a devil class, especially for this group of students without any innate talents. He sent out some teachers who were eliminated to pretend to teach in the devil class. But every time, those teachers who went to teach in the devil class would be thrown out in various ways. The director originally didn't want to bother about this devil class. Since the devil class didn't know what was good for them, the director simply treated the devil class as if it didn't exist, leaving them to fend for themselves. Gradually, the name of the devil class. Only when the teachers wanted to punish those disobedient students, would they threaten to send them to the devil class. At this time, the devil class's name would appear. But when did the students in the devil class change so much? From the information displayed, the changes in the devil class started after Yiqing Luo entered the devil class. Many people were talking about it. Yiqing Luo was able to turn from a useless body to a profound expert. The overlord must have helped her from the back. And when Yiqing Luo entered the devil class, the students in the devil class also changed from a useless body to cultivators who could take charge of their own affairs. It must be the overlord who helped those students on account of Yiqing Luo's face. But the three teachers who came from the upper realm didn't think so. They were very clear. A person's change was absolutely not something that could be changed overnight. Like Yiqing Luo's aura and her boldness. At least she needed to be nurtured and trained since young. At least she had experienced countless bloodshed. Only then could she have such a shocking aura. Moreover, the group of students in the devil class was absolutely not as simple as what they saw on the surface. They absolutely did not change after Yiqing Luo entered the devil class. It was only Yiqing Luo's arrival that made them more united. That girl called Yan Xiaoyi. In the files of devil class, there isn't any information on her. Teacher E flipped through the book in his hand and pointed to the other side. And that little thing called Kitty Li. But, according to the faculty council's understanding, Yan Xiaoyi has already been in devil class for at least 3 years. Shen Qing took a look at Yan Xiaoyi. The students of the Heavenly Academy all have a wooden token that belongs to them. The wooden tablet will clearly record the changes in each student's profound rank. The other two headmasters were slightly stunned. He was right. With the Academy's wooden token, how could the Academy not have noticed the changes in the devil class? Moreover, if the faculty council didn't have Yan Xiaoyi's file, how did Yan Xiaoyi manage to stay in the devil class for 3 years? As for that little thing called Li Mao, others might not be able to tell, but the three teachers definitely could. Looking at Kitty Li's clingy attitude towards Yiqing Luo, she could roughly guess that Kitty Li should be Yiqing Luo's contracted beast. Chapter 2281. After the investigation, they were only left with disbelief and shock. This devil class was really full of crouching tigers and hidden dragons, with unlimited potential. Old man Guiyu had specially emphasized that Yiqing Luo had the chance to enter the class of gods, but she had given it up. This sentence was absolutely true. Not only Yiqing Luo alone. From their point of view, These 10 students in Devil class were all qualified to enter the class of gods to undergo the best special training. But the masters were very clear about this. Even if they really brought up this point, these 11 people would absolutely not agree to it. No one could destroy the atmosphere of unity, mutual support and mutual help between them. They had always felt that the students in the class of gods stood out one by one, no matter if it was in battle or defense, their ability would always be invincible and invincible. But they always felt that the students in the class of gods were lacking something. Now they finally understood. What they lacked in the class of gods was the affection between people, the trust between people. That kind of unity, the spirit of reliance. After a day of special training, the students of the two classes were exhausted after the increased intensity of the training. By the time they returned to the training ground, the students were already lying on the ground, unwilling to get up. Only the students of Devil class still maintained their formation from start to end. They received a towel and a water bag from the master. They wiped the sweat off their faces. Fatigue was evident on their faces, but compared to the state of the class of gods, they were obviously better. The students in the class of gods were all shocked. If it was said that the students in Devil class had completed the weight-bearing cross-country yesterday, they didn't witness it with their own eyes. Even with the master's testimony, they didn't really believe it. But today, they had been training together with the students in Devil class throughout. No matter what kind of training it was a group action. They had also deeply witnessed the gap between themselves and the students in Devil class. One by one, their arrogant hearts that were about to soar into the sky were all abused by the students of the Devil class until they fell straight down with a walala sound. At this moment, the students in the class of gods were not only conquered by the backing of Devil class, they were also conquered by their performance in the special training. After the students rested for a moment, the Fat Master's deep voice resounded throughout the training ground. Today's special training ends here. Gather here tomorrow at 5 in the morning. The students immediately responded in a loud voice. Yiqing Luo wiped the sweat off her forehead and looked at the receding figures of the class before she slowly walked towards the three masters. Masters, I have a question that I would like to ask you. What is it, student Yiqing Luo, please speak. Yiqing Luo pondered for a moment. Class of gods and the Heavenly Academy's Heavenly Profound Hall, is there any special relationship? Upper Shen Hall? Teacher Yi stroked his white beard. The Xuanhuan Palace has not been concerned about the development of the Heavenly Academy for many years, and the few of us have not specially looked for the palace lord. Yiqing Luo pursed her pink lips. Put it this way. The three of them were not the only ones who knew where the sacred beast pearl was. Bai Mei had always been in the god class and had never left it. This point could be seen from the fact that Bai Mei didn't know that she and Dmo Xian had already had numerous legs. If Bai Mei had left the class, the gossipy crowd had been gossiping about what had happened between her and Lin Mingya. You're tuning in to the Sword Dance in the Vast Sky YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.